Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to help to educate you so that you can continue to feel much more comfortable and confident as you continue to invest beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And you know what? If you're a busy professional that's been struggling to truly live the lifestyle that you really want for yourself, then guess what? You're going to need to stick around to the very end of today's episode. You know why? Because today's guest actually started out and is a former Big Four accountant turned world traveler. He's a real estate entrepreneur. He's a business mentor, as well as the host of the very popular Before the Millions podcast, Mr. Daray Olaleye. Daray, welcome to the show, man.
Billy, thanks for having me. I am super excited to be on your show. It's been a long time coming. Glad we're here. Hopefully I can add some value to your listeners.
You know, I have no doubt that you are going to add value, loads of value. You're always doing it. Not only you talk about the what, you very, very frequently, if not always, talk about the how. And that's always what the being able to add value is. And so really looking forward to that today. And Daray, listen, man, one of the things we hear with the Going Long podcast as we get started, we always want to help people understand, first and foremost, what city are you in today?
Yes, today I am in a city called Richmond, Texas. Not Richmond, Virginia, but Richmond, Texas. It's a suburb of Houston, Texas. And as you can tell, the state that I'm in is Texas, which is in the United States of America, the most southern state in the U.S., I believe. Check my geography facts. I don't
know. That's all right. That's all right. It's all good. So, hey, by the way, I used to live in Houston long time ago. So I was there back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. So
love it. Hope you love Houston. It's my favorite city.
Yeah, I still have family there. And so, yes, it has a special place in my heart. So perfect. So thanks for letting us know what city you're in. So the other thing, Daray, what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours, man?
Last 24 hours. That's a really, really interesting question, Billy. I would say that I'm in the middle of a business venture off the beaten path. I was just thinking, through this pandemic, there's a lot of things that we do to occupy our time in general. And I think a lot of those things we've been doing a little bit more through this pandemic. So me personally, I'm not a big video game person or game person at all, but I have vices every once in a while. So over the past maybe 6 months, I've been downloading various games on my phone. The first game I downloaded, you may be familiar with, it's called Spades. The second game I downloaded this probably 6 months ago. I play it every single day. I'm so addicted. The second game I downloaded is chess. Little known fact, in middle school, I was in Houston. I came second place twice in various chess tournaments. So chess has always been my forte. I started a few chess clubs in middle school and high school as well. So I downloaded chess. I started playing on my phone. And then the third one is Monopoly. And long story short, a lot of these games are really just to sharpen my mind. Really just to improve on my critical thinking, right? When I'm not in business, when I'm not enjoying time with family. But ultimately, I realized, you have this every Sunday, there's this, if you have an iPhone, you see that there's a weekly screen time report. And my weekly screen time report has been showing that I've been playing an average of 2 hours or 3 hours a week on games. And again, I'm not a big game person. This is all recent. I'm just what could I be doing with that time? How could I leverage that time to create a better future for myself? So anyways, I started a business in 2016, a high-end furniture store. And I've since lost sight of that business. But as of late, I decided that with that extra time, because I'm into some of these challenging mind games, I really loved The Sims growing up. And I was with that extra time and with the way e-commerce is these days, why not start or rebrand that business and pick it back up and see if you can get some traction. It's a 100% online business, and it's 100% virtual, and it's pretty much 90% passive. And I'd be doing little tweaks like you would do in The Sims and some of these other games to bring in more revenue, bring in more customers and things like that. And it's just a fun game to me. But at the same time, it's building up a nest egg, a portfolio of because I'm just going to keep the profits inside of the business and keep reinvesting the profits and let the business grow. Maybe even sell the business one day, right? But again, it's a game that can occupy that time instead of some of those other games. In the past 24 hours, I've gotten approved by a few of the suppliers that I've been wanting to get approved by to make sure that I can have this business launched by Friday. So that's been a win for me.
Wow. Fantastic. Very, very nice, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I just, again, we're in this time of crisis, and I'm sure yours is as well, but all our minds are turning, figuring out different ways to be more effective, different ways to give back, different ways to create more income. And this is just one of the little projects. I was like, hey, if I'm going to spend this extra 5 hours a week to, play games, why not play a game that serves me? And, I can actually build wealth from this game. And that could be that focus for my downtime, quote unquote.
Okay. So, let's dig into some of this then, right? Because you talk about chess. One of our kids plays chess. He actually has been playing chess for a while at school. And so this is one of the things I did not do as a kid. So when I watch my son playing chess and asking me to play chess and things like that, it's a lot of fun. So if you say that you started maybe playing chess early on, but I guess now that we understand something that's happened positively, why don't you give us a little bit about your backstory and help us understand kind of today how in the world does real estate even fit in with a lifestyle guy like yourself?
Right. It's crazy because, again, going back to these games, I remember when I was a kid, we lived in a quaint little maybe 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, stayed right beside my mom's best friend. I don't know if that was by coincidence or that was by design, but they stayed right beside each other. My mom has 2 kids. My mom's best friend had 2 kids that were single parent households.
Mm-hmm.
And then her kids were older than me and my little sister. So her son was probably like 10 years older than me. He passed away a few years ago. And then her daughter is 5 years older than me. And I used to go over there. I used to play games with them. With her son, I used to play video games, Mortal Kombat, all those games, Super Mario Bros, all that stuff, right? And then with her daughter, I used to play Monopoly. And I used to go over there like every day after school, and I would just suck. I would lose to her Monopoly every single day, Billy. Like, it was just constant. And I am a passionate, driven person when it comes to competition. And I was just like, dude, I gotta crack the code. I gotta figure out. Back then you couldn't Google stuff like, how do you, that's the type of I am. Like, I want to Google like every single little thing. Like chess, I want to know all the variations. Like, I just want to be prepared. And you couldn't do that back then. So I just had to continually trial and error until I figured out patterns that actually worked for me. And ultimately, there came a shift, a pivoting moment where not only did I beat her once, but I continually started beating her every single time that we played Monopoly. And all I discovered was that I needed to operate in a sense where I needed to own the property where I could see the most foot traffic, which again applies in real life. And then I also needed to operate and own a property where I can make the most money. Okay, so foot traffic, I would collect up all the railroads because there's no better way to get foot traffic than railroads. And then I would get all the high producing properties. And again, that's the way I apply myself in business and in life today, which is, again, a principle I learned when I was 8 to 14 years old, right? Playing a board game. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of an insight as to like how that kind of transpired over the years. Now, once I got to college, again, I'm this individual who's super competitive when I know what I want, but never really knew what I wanted. It was always kind of told to me that, oh, Daray, you're smart, you'll be successful. I can see that. And, people just kind of stuck with that. It was just kind of like a natural, like, yeah, you're going to be successful. But me being me and knowing that I don't have a plan, just like everybody expects this greatness from me. And I don't have no idea what I'm going to do, what I want to do in life. I have no passion. It was actually scary. Like, it was just like, man, like I feel like and I come from a Nigerian family and there's so much pressure, right? If you're not a doctor, you're a loser. Mm. So ultimately I get to college and, giving you some insight of my family. Again, my little sister has always known what she's wanted to be, Billy. Like from the age of like 8 years old, I want to be an OBGYN. Till this day, she's never wavered. She just graduated from Baylor, top of her class with some of the highest MCAT scores in the country. Like that's how serious she's always been. Whereas for me, never, not once have I ever known what I wanted to do. And I've always envied like people who were just like, yeah, I know what I'm going to major in. I had no idea what I was going to major in college. So long story short, I wanted to be safe. I wanted to be secure, just like every other professional out there. I was like, how can I become safe and secure? Right. So I asked around and they said the thing to do is, again, to go into corporate, but I wanted to leverage my skills and talents just in case I wasn't going to be in corporate for a long time. So I started thinking about different corporate paths that I can go in. And again, the most safe and secure thing that I was told was to be a numbers guy, a bean counter. So it was like, hey, go be an accountant. Actually, Daray, if you not only strive to be an accountant, but if you strive to be one of the best accountants like ever, you can work for these firms, the Harvards and Princetons of accounting firms. They're called the Big Four. And that's not just an accountant. That's like a prestigious thing. If you do that, like you're set. You get to one of those in the next 12 to 15 years, you'll be making $500,000 a year, and you'll be able to buy into the firm. You'll be coined what's called a partner. I'm like, well, there's my goal. There's my goal. And I started going down that path. I started getting a lot of accolades in school. I started running a lot of organizations. I started getting my grades up until the point to where I felt like I was ready to take on that challenge. So went through the interview process, all that good stuff. I actually did really good, got an offer from a Big Four accounting firm and a few other oil and gas firms. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm set. Like, even though this is not my passion, I know that with accounting, I could always pivot into any other industry. So why not do this and see if I can go make $500,000 in the next 10, 15 years? Cool. I get there, Billy. And at first, it's everything that I want. It's the Amex corporate card. It's flying everywhere. It's $50 lunch, $35 lunch budgets, $50 or $60 dinner budgets, $75 dinner budgets if you're in like San Francisco or Cali, depending on where you're flying. It's 4-star hotels. It's just, I mean, they bring everything out for you, the red carpet, really. And it's these fancy parties and gatherings. And, I'm just like, yes, like this is where I belong. But a few short months in, Billy, it really just changed. Like I noticed how restricted I was. I noticed I got my first check and I called my mom. I was like, Mom, like I think something happened. There's an error, a grave error on my check. Like they took all my money. And I kind of broke it down for her. I was like, yeah, I can't remember what it was. I was like, yeah, this is my check. And like almost half of it is gone. She was like, yeah, you're an adult.
Right. Welcome.
I said, wait, so like everybody, like this happens to everybody? She's like, yeah, everybody pays taxes. I mean, I'm like, I know that, but why is it so much? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't fathom like working from January to April, maybe even to May for some of us just to pay Uncle Sam. Like you're paying 25, 30, 35, 40% in taxes. So you're working almost half the year just to pay the government. Billy, I was not okay with that. And I didn't understand how all of America, or really all of the world, was okay with that. So again, I wasn't in corporate long enough to start conforming to societal norms and start to think that was okay. I immediately had a problem with that. I immediately was like, there has to be something else. Like, this is not okay. I don't think everybody else is living like this. So not only was the money a factor, but also, again, my time. I love traveling. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. 2 months after I was born, I moved across the world to Birmingham, which is not too far from London. So I moved across the world to Birmingham. And this is because my mom is, again, a single mother, and she's a runway model, and she doesn't have the funds to support her son just yet. So she sent me to her sister, who currently lives in London. But at the time, she was living in Birmingham. So I lived with her sister for maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And then I moved to Nigeria, which is where my dad's side of the family lives and my mom's parents live. I was there for about a year or two. And I moved back to the States around 4 or 5. As I'm back in the States, every single year in the States, I'm either going to a new school, a new daycare, I'm being transferred. Because again, my mom has the life of an entrepreneur from the get-go. Like she has tons of ups and downs as we're growing up. Like, so she'll be on, High Street one year, then the next year, we just had a whole bunch of movement. So I was always the person who I knew a lot of people, but I never built those deep relationships with people because I was only in places for 6 months to a year. So I'm used to traveling. I'm used to being a bird. I'm used to exploring. I'm used to getting to know new cultures. And when I get to corporate America, it's the first time that I'm told no. My only requirement when I was made an offer by the Big Four firm, my only requirement was that they give me a year. So most people after college, you go right into the workforce. I told them, give me a year, I want to travel. Really, that's how serious I was about traveling. Like there's nothing there's no pastime better. So I told them to give me a year and I used that year to travel. So when I finally got there, it's almost as if I knew. The travel, I still traveled a lot, but it was very different, right? So I was constricted. So again, the moral of the story is I'm working all year to make money for the government, or half, let's just say half the year to make money for the government. I'm working the second half of the year to make money for the banks because I'm fresh out of college. I got student loan debt. I got car notes. Some of you guys have mortgages. You got credit card bills. All that stuff goes to the bank. And then, so that's half of the year to the government, half the year to the bank. And then the entire year, Billy, I'm working for a firm where I'm getting no fulfillment, right? All I'm doing is adding up 2 + 2 and making sure it equals 4. I don't understand what this actually means to the business, right? Where our clients are these million and billion dollar companies. A lot of them are real estate companies. And I'm just making sure that balance sheets add up, right? I don't see what this means to the CEO and what type of financial decisions he's making and what properties. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. I'm just like, so what fulfillment am I getting doing this? And after a year of no fulfillment and no money, I was just like, so you want me to do this for another 44 years? What?
And why would you not?
Yeah, right. So I got discontented real quick. There was no way that I was going to make it another just 12 to 13 years to become a partner. I needed a solution. I needed a solution fast. And I didn't know what to do. I had no idea there was anything called financial freedom. I had no idea there were real estate investors. There were location-independent entrepreneurs. There were digital nomads. There were people traveling the world like yourself, 80 countries. Like I didn't know. Yeah. And then one day, I call her my guardian angel, this woman. Her name is Morgan. She was a year ahead of me. She hands me this book. And I hadn't read a book my whole adult life, really. Hadn't read a single book. I think I tried to read 48 Laws of Power a few times from the age of 17 to 24. But I just wasn't a reader. Like, just wasn't in me. So she handed me this book, little purple book. And Billy, I read that book in maybe a day. Billy, I tried to read 48 Laws of Power at least 6-7 times, no lie. I couldn't get past the first chapter. And I loved the book. Billy, I picked up this purple book and I read it in maybe a day or two.
It's a life changer.
It's Rich Dad Poor Dad, guys, if you guys don't. This day, I read about a book a week. I've read well over 150 books. I am a voracious reader. All I do is read. It's insane how I had one single defining moment that changed everything. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you take it from there.
No, so you've given us a lot to get to understand more about you, your mindset, and you've talked about just already recognizing early on that you were following the path, right? And something inside you were just saying, look, I'm doing all this work, but I'm working half the year for somebody else. The other half of the year I'm working for somebody else, and I need some time for myself. So you talked about something in the very beginning that I'd like for you to kind of help us understand how what you've learned since then, that what happened with that purple book, those games that you were playing Monopoly with that friend that was kind of kicking your butt back in the day, right? And you got focused on how do you go out and win, and you figured that out. You saw the pattern, and you said it was based on 2 things. It was based on foot traffic, and it was based on making money, right? And so how does that foot traffic, making money, playing the Monopoly game, and then what you were seeing in that corporate world and that purple book combined get us to where you are today and how you're helping other people?
Wow, that's a really, really interesting question. I will say that you told me earlier that you were going to ask me a question about a failure. And I told you I only had one failure my entire life.
You too, only one?
Only one. But I will say a lot of that was because I've been failing forward ever since, Billy. I know we've talked on my podcast maybe a few years ago of how I wanted to start coaching and consulting. And it's crazy. Again, that was just 2 years ago, but I've been failing forward ever since, right? Mm-hmm. I remember, and I think I'll kind of come back full circle, but I remember just kind of going back to that conversation. I remember when I did start my first coaching program, I just got fired from my job. My second job, I was so guys, as you're listening, not only did I leave that Big Four accounting firm, but I went to another firm to learn the finance side of things, and I became an investment analyst. So again, I'm still a working professional. And from that job, I had already acquired a few properties, and I had already started, helping other people do things like house hacking and things of that nature. So I thought that it was time for me to really have a platform to really help people get to the next level and show people what I've done. So around that time that I brought you on the show, I was like, hey, like I'm going to start coaching and consulting. There's a lot of people that, follow my footsteps that need my help. And I was also doing a money raise. I was raising money for my mentor. I was raising $1 million, and I had never raised money before in my life. So I get fired, I'm raising $1 million, and I'm coming out with a course. All this is happening at the same time. But I figured me getting fired is beneficial because I get more of my time back. So I get more time to build out this course. I get more time to raise money for this deal, and I'm going to be okay. I'm not worried, right? I didn't have enough properties at the time to fully sustain myself off of my rental income. So I was just like, with this course and with this deal, I'll be okay. So I started to create out that course, and it was challenging. It was gruesome. It took me about 3-4 months, and ultimately, I made $0. I launched the course to a ton of people. Everybody who said they were interested. Yeah, Daray, I can't wait till you do this. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to dig in. And not a single person paid me for my services. So I don't know if that happened before or after our conversation, but that was just like, oh my God. Not only that, but my money raise, I raised $0. So you have two complete and utter, again, I failed probably, let's just say about 379,000 times.
I thought it was just once.
See, those were some of my two biggest defining ones at that time, because I didn't want to go back and get a job. So let me rewind a little quick, Billy. The day I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I made an oath to myself, to my friends, and to my family, and said that I would quit the rat race and I would leave my job in 2 years or less. I didn't know how. Didn't have a single business. Didn't have a single investment property. All I did was read a single book. I said, I will leave my job in 2 years or less. I was 25 years old. This was in April of 2016. May of 2016, my birthday, I closed on my first property. So about 30 days after I read a book, I had no investment experience. I had no real estate experience. I mean, of course, corporate, but that was very different, right? I wasn't listening to a ton of real estate podcasts. I wasn't consuming a ton of information. I wasn't waiting year after year. I wasn't analyzing deals. I said that I needed to do this. Reason being, going back to how my mind works and how all of this kind of comes together. Here's my thought process. I was like, this is probably going to be a bad deal. I'm probably going to fail at this. I'm probably going to lose a lot of money doing this. But I was okay with that. The only reason I was okay with that was internally, wholeheartedly, 100%, I had committed. Like, I had made a decision. I had decided. Many of you have not yet made that decision. You think you've made that decision, but you haven't really made the decision. You think about the word decide. And take the root of that word, IDE, right? IDE means to cut off, to kill off, to leave alone. So you think pesticide, you think genocide, right? It literally means to kill off. So when you make that decision, when I made that decision, there was no other possibility of me doing anything else. And if that's the case, why not fail?
So it gives me a couple of things, right? Because there is a level of commitment, right? That whole adage about when you decide to do something, it gives you the power to act, right? And once you start acting, then that helps you to move forward. But what is it? I don't want to give you the answer, but what is it that you think actually allowed you to do it? I mean, you've said a couple of things, but because I know a lot of people, like I'm surrounded by corporate people every single day that want to do things. They want to do different things. They want to apply for a new role, or they want to buy their first property, or they want to invest in oil and gas or in precious metals, but they don't. So what do you think the key, I mean, because you're working with people all the time from a leadership perspective and a mentoring perspective, what is the secret sauce?
Man, Billy, that is the $1 million question. Like, I wish I could verbatimly tell you verbally what the answer is and what the separator is. And I've always said, whenever I've been asked a similar question, I've always said, like, for me personally, the only reason I didn't take action before is just that I just simply didn't know. I wasn't aware. And again, I don't think that trait is in everybody. So there has to be something else to get people on the trigger. So I have an exercise that we'll talk about. But for me, it was just, I just didn't know. The minute that I knew that there was something, like when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it was like speaking another language, right? Like, I speak multiple languages, but it was like speaking another, it was just like, hey, there's a language that you know, but we haven't presented this to you yet. And once I opened that book, it was just like, hey, this is a language I've been trying to speak all my life. And now it's in words. And now I can actually show somebody, here, this is like there was just no words for it before that. So the minute I found words to my emotion, like I don't know, Billy.
So in the language thing, that's also something that's close to my heart, right? Being from Columbus, Ohio, surrounded by people, and then having lived in Europe over the last couple of years. So that resonates with me. I'm curious. You mentioned that you have an exercise. So I know you like to add value all the time. So like for those, because they're listening right now, you're listening, you're thinking, you know what? Daray's talking to me about something that I've been there 4 or 5 times. I'm frustrated. I need help. What's the exercise, man? How can you help somebody just take that first step, that move towards that action?
Yeah, I think it honestly, Billy, I think it comes down to beliefs. And, most people pride themselves on being technical experts. And by definition, I have a technical background. I should pride myself on being a technical expert, but that's not what it's about. I mean, technical skills could only take you so far. You can know how. I've had students who analyze deals for years but can't make an offer. What's the point of that? So as much as technical expertise is important, and you'll listen to my podcast, I rarely ever go into the technical aspect of anything, because I know that if you commit and if you have the mindset, right, you'll get the technical expertise. And most people just don't believe that it's possible for them. How many times have we seen the gurus on the late night infomercial saying no and low money down? How many times have we seen the popular real estate quote that says 90% of millionaires have gotten their wealth through real estate or maintained their wealth through real estate? How many times over and over again has it been beaten in our heads that we need to be investors, whether in the real estate or stock market or whatever, right?
Yep.
I mean, but it just goes in one ear and goes out the other ear. And that's not because you're not listening, but it's almost like you don't think it applies to you. Or it's like, this can't possibly be for me. Who am I to want all these things? Who am I to acquire all these things, right? And I have a student, I mean, she's in a position to where she wants to make $10,000 a month. It's like that is her goal. But she doesn't believe it's possible. And I'm going to tell you why. If you're implementing a system, regardless of what business you're in, to acquire leads, whether you're acquiring customers or you're trying to find sellers, right, so that you can buy their property, but you're acquiring leads. If your lead acquisition, if at the top of your funnel, let's say you're cold calling for motivated sellers. If you're calling 2 people a month, what do you think your results are going to be?
I've been in sales for 23 years, complex sales, multi-million euro sales. And I've sold knives door to door. I can tell you the result is going to be pretty close to nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things to where and her and many people like her are like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of time, right? I got work, I got the kids, I got to cook, I got the spouse, I got extracurricular activities, I got the parents. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm trying the best that I can, Daray. Are you really? Think about it. All the things that you're putting in front of real estate or your financial future, right? All those things that are taking up your time are things that if you focused on the single most important thing, right, in this aspect, right, those things can be alleviated through whatever, right, through daycare, through having services, right, being able to pay people to go do stuff, to having more of your time back and not having to go to work, right? All those things can be taken care of if you don't put the single thing that's most important on the back burner because you have all those things. So her thing is like, dude, like, I need sleep. I need 8 hours of sleep, Daray. You don't understand. If I got 7 hours of sleep, Daray, watch how I show up tomorrow. Like, I'd be cranky. I wouldn't want to talk to you. And I'm like, I almost said her name, but I'm like, is that a belief? Is that a fact or is that a belief? What do you think about those people who get 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep and are able to perform? Do you think that they believe that if they got those many hours of sleep, they wouldn't be able to perform? If they believe that, I guarantee you they wouldn't be able to perform. But they wholeheartedly believe that they're going to be able to perform with those many hours of sleep. Now, I'm not telling you to kill yourself. I'm not telling you to get 3 hours of sleep on end. I'm telling you to be passionate enough about your financial future, about your real estate goals, to do something in the short term to get you to that goal, which is a sacrifice. And I was like, all right, look, let's say your goal is $10K a month, like I said. I'm going to write you a check right now, $10,000. Put your name on it, put the amount on it, put my signature on it, and I'm actually going to hand it to you. Now, all you have to do, instead of making 2 calls a month, is to make 400 calls a month, 100 calls a week, 20 calls a day. Or you can make all those calls in the same day, whatever, but you just make 400 calls that month. And as soon as the end of the month is over, you can just go cash that check. How would you show up? Sleep. This conversation is recorded, Billy. Literally, I recorded, like, she listens to this conversation. Sleep. What's sleep?
Yeah.
What is sleep? Right. No, you just told me that you required 8 hours.
Right.
You just told me that your kids had to do this. You have to cook. You have to go to work for this amount of hours. But all of a sudden, now that you know the money is guaranteed, you can change around your schedule. You have the ability to do that. Yeah. Billy, it boils down to belief.
Yep. Yeah, it's an excellent point. It is about believing, and it's about taking the action. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I think is so key is, helping us understand that how, like helping you to understand how to do it. It's putting yourself out there. You even mentioned it yourself, Daray. You verbalized it. You said 2 years after this, I'm going to walk away from my job. So guess what happens when you start to put that thought out in the air? Guess what? There's some accountability that starts to happen, which means you don't want to go to the party the next time, the dinner party, and say, hey, Billy, what'd you do last time? Daray, what's going on? I haven't done anything. No, it doesn't feel so good. So being able to verbalize it, put it out there, write it down, and be there to have other people to help hold you accountable.
Yeah. You verbalize. I've heard this quote. I can't remember who. I can't attribute it to anybody. I don't remember who I heard it from. But you verbalize your grow up goals, right? I want to be debt free in 2 years. I want to own 50 rental units, whatever the case may be. But you keep secret your give up goals, right? Mm-hmm. Those are goals that people want to come after. Like, hey, I want to quit smoking, or I want to quit this, or I want to quit that. You keep those secret, but your grow up goals, you verbalize that for the exact reasons that you just said. It's mm-hmm. social accountability, and it really helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look, Daray, I want to keep talking to you forever, man. But I know we've got things that'll be going on in our lives and things like that. Wow, there's been a lot that you've talked to us about today. But before I kind of wrap things up, there is I guess this is kind of the section where we like to call the going long final three. But the thing is, Daray, I never asked the going long final three unless you tell me that you're ready to answer the going long final three. Are you ready?
100%.
All right, perfect. So, Daray, one of the things we want to be able to do is continue to build bridges, right, towards U.S.-based real assets and helping people understand. But I'm living in Europe, man, and I love living in Europe. Living in Barcelona is kind of fun. I like it a lot. So help me understand, what is your favorite European city, either that you visited or is on your bucket list?
Okay. Again, I think I said I was bad with geography, right? As much as I was trouble. So I want to go, and let me know if this is a European city or not. I want to go to Mykonos.
Yes.
I would
Greece,
love to go to, yes, I would love to go to Greece sometime this year, actually, before the end of the year, if everything kind of dies down with COVID. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love connecting with new cultures. I've never been to Greece, and I think it's an amazing experience.
Beautiful. Yes, you will love it, and hopefully things will move to the point where we can start to get out and travel. And I know you love traveling. I love watching you on your social media channels and seeing where you are traveling as you go out and continue to mentor your students and focus on your real estate and things like that. So awesome. So I vote for Mykonos. And I know you've kind of talked to us about it already earlier, but since you're such a generous guy, I know you've only failed once. Or made one mistake or one learning lesson, or however you want to call it. But and you've shared some things with us earlier. But I guess from anything that you've not been able to do as well as you wanted to, it was a failure, a learning lesson, however you want to call it. What one lesson would you pay forward to somebody else so that maybe they don't have to pay 100% for the mistake that you made?
It's crazy because I'm super big on efficiency. So as crazy as it may be to say, people are gonna, I don't know what people are gonna think about this, but it's crazy because when I first wanted to decide on my long-term vision to escape the rat race, I would ask people, and a lot of the mentors and gurus in my vicinity at that time told me, yeah, I mean, you build up a portfolio, you do this and that, it'll take you about 10 years. And I was like, man, I'm 25. Like, I want to be able to enjoy my 20s. And then the super gung-ho people, the people who are super ambitious, who got a little bit more done and accomplished and had a little bit more of a brighter mindset, said it could take you about 5 years. That still wasn't working for me, man. I'd be 30. I just turned 32 days ago. So like, this is 5 years now, right? But that wasn't content for me. So I don't know how I had the foresight at the time, because I didn't read anything. I didn't know about these things back then, but I implemented what I know now to be Parkinson's law. And I decided to give myself a 2-year goal. And whether or not I believed that 2 years was possible, or I could actually hit 2 years, even though the set out goal was 10 years, I wanted to give myself a 2-year goal because of the way my mind would work. There's a book called The 12-Week Year. And it's a fascinating book. It just kind of shifts your mindset from having yearly goals and going after yearly aspirations to going after quarterly aspirations, and having 4 years inside of a single year, so that, one, you're able to get super specific on the actual task that you're supposed to do today, right? June 1st, which is when we're recording this. What am I supposed to do today to get to my goal by June 30th, which is the end of this quarter, right? Like, it's super specific. But if I got a 10-year goal, Billy, what in the world am I supposed to do year one? Like, what do I do this entire year to get to that? Like, it's not conceivable. Like, the human mind cannot break that down and be on par. But when you break it down to 12 weeks, okay, 3 months. Okay, well, month 1 has to be the learning phase. Month 2 has to be the implementation phase. Month 3 must be the phase where I kind of just go back and kind of tweak everything and make sure that it's optimal, right? Whatever. Ultimately, it gives you set parameters to operate in. So I recommend anybody reading the 12-week year. So I had a 2-year goal to compress everything down. And with that 2-year goal, I was supposed to, again, leave the rat race in 2 years. The rat race left me in 18 months. So I had a decision if I wanted to go back to the rat race, right? Or if I wanted to continue being entrepreneurial, but being a struggling entrepreneur while I figured it out the rest of the way. And of course, I chose the latter. But going back to like what I would do differently, it's just like, although like I was able to leave the rat race in 18 months. It was hard. It was gruesome for maybe even the next year after that. But although I was able to do that, my biggest thing is like retroactively looking and being like, now that I know how to build businesses, I told you I'm starting this side business on my phone and investing the profits, right? But now that I know how to build businesses, it's just like, dude, like I wasted so much time. Mind you, I already just had a 2-year goal as opposed to what everybody else thought. But I'm still thinking I wasted so much time. With those 2 years, I wasted so much. My first year in business, after I bought that first property, I started another 7 businesses. Another 7. And I was just pulling at anything that would give me passive income. I was waiting for that next thing. I was putting marketing dollars into everything that would give me passive income. And ultimately, hindsight again, what I would do now is I would pick 1, maybe 2 of those businesses to focus on until success. And I would have gotten to my goal way faster.
Okay.
So again, it may be like, oh, Daray, you're bragging. I'm really not. I'm really just trying to get you to see things in perspective. Like there are certain businesses, there are certain ways. It's crazy because there are lots of people who want to jump into real estate and, they'll listen to a podcast or read a book. And there's so many different real estate strategies out there, right? And again, this goes back to one of my biggest learnings. If I wanted to make, let's just say I want to make 10K, like my student. I want to make 10K a month back in 2016. The very first property I bought, I put down about $20,000. Okay. I started cash flowing about $1,500. Not cash flowing. I started grossing about $1,500 and I started netting about $250. So in my mind, 20K of a down payment equates to cash flow of $250 a month. Okay. If I want to get to 10K a month, how many more properties do I need to buy? 39. I need to buy 39 properties, single family homes, because that's what I was working with, single family homes in 2 years. And the way I bought that first property was traditional financing. So that means I need 39 more loans in 2 years. That also means I need to build out a system that brings me enough leads, maybe 400 leads or 600 leads, so that a certain amount of those leads convert into 40 homes. My first, it was practically impossible from where I was, but I didn't see that. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that in order for me to get to my goal, I needed to match the vehicle with my goal. So it was like, hey, if I was going to go down that path, I either needed to stretch out my goal from 2 years to 5 or 10 years, or I needed to change what my goal was down to 5K or 2K or 1K, right? So again, it's one of those things where I just look at that situation and so many people go down that path where, oh, this is a cool real estate vehicle. Let me start down this path. Or, hey, Daray's doing this. Let me do this too. Billy's doing this. Let me do this too. That's not how it works.
So rather than going wide and getting it could be I wouldn't say necessarily the shiny object syndrome, but it's more about saying, okay, you pick the 1 or 2, and you really go deep on those. Yeah,
exactly. And even those 1 or 2, like that stems from you personally. Like every single person listening to us right now, all of our paths are different, right? And I think about, and I have a guide over at beforethemillions.com/guide, and it's a free guide. And it literally just gives you an assessment and it shows you, because again, I get this, I'm sure you get it all the time. How do I get started in real estate? And it's easy for me to be like, oh yeah, go listen to my podcast, take my course and I got you, right? Like everybody wants to, but that's not, that doesn't serve you. It may serve you. It may be the perfect thing for you, but we don't know that yet. We don't know if you should be a passive investor in apartments or if you should create a real estate business that brings you leads that you're able to wholesale. We have no idea until we know who you are, what your resources are, what your goals are, what your timeline is. So there are like 100 vehicles in real estate, right? I mean, we could name them off from fixing and flipping to passively investing in apartments, to being a syndicator, to being, a rental property owner, to doing, everything works. Literally, guys, every single thing I just named and the other 99 others, they all have multi-million dollars in those industries. Every single one.
It's like one of those things that says everything works as long as you do. So you have to pick it and you have to go forward. So in terms of being able to stay focused, that's the thing that you would pass forward. And I think you've mentioned the book already, but I would just ask you to repeat the name of the book once again, because we're going to include that in the show notes. Is the 12
That
week
actually
year?
wasn't going to be my recommended book, but we can go with that. The 12 week year was phenomenal.
We'll go with the 12 week year. And then because you started it, and it's one of those things that, so you've given us so many things to think about today, Daray, which is, everything from thinking back when you were starting out playing Monopoly with the friends next door, to having lived in the US, then in the UK, having gotten into the corporate dream, you got the right degrees, you got the right things, you were climbing the ladder and something wasn't feeling right. Then you realized it was about being committed to a new goal. You were able to set out a 2-year goal. You went from 2 years to 18 months that you knew that you could accomplish that. To now you're at a point when even many people would have stopped. You have grown as a result of failing forward, failing fast, and probably frequently. And that's helped you to get to a level of success that you're now in a position where you can also go out to help others, right? You've helped us learn a lot of things. And so I know that I enjoy talking to you, and I like being in touch with you. I like following what you're doing on social media. And I'm sure that everyone that is listening now is kind of like, man, how do I connect with Daray? Because this is cool. So help us understand as we wrap things up, man, what is the best way for the Going Long audience to get in touch with you, connect with you, maybe get some time with you?
Yeah, I love it. Billy, this has been a pleasure to be on your show. I've had so much fun, so much insight.
Awesome.
Like you said, there's so much more to share. And it was just like, oh my goodness, we don't have the time. So yeah, definitely connect with me if you want to learn more. My platform of choice is Instagram. That's where I share all of my outings, my cuisines, everything that I do in my daily life, as well as the podcast, interviewing guests, and also real estate investments as well. It's just my platform of choice. We have a Facebook group as well, super active in there, and that's where you can kind of get, other investors supporting you as well. But ultimately, again, my platform is beforethemillions.com, and it's a real estate educational platform. Not only are we interviewing individuals like Billy who have done amazing things in the real estate world, but we also teach individuals life strategy for no and low money down deals in the single family space. So it's been a fun ride. And just to give you guys a quick, even from that $0 launch, like now we've have a multiple 6-figure educational business, and it's been doing amazing. So many people have gotten results. You guys can definitely head over to beforethemillions.com to check out more on that. But if you want to connect with me personally, please connect with me on Instagram. Shoot me a quick DM. Let's connect, and I want to help you get you to your goal. Let me know that you heard me on Billy's podcast, and you and I will probably be the best of friends. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. So, Daray, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights, your wisdom with others, and really getting a better idea as to how real estate can be the genesis, right, for starting to help people understand that as a business, when structured and done properly, can really provide the type of lifestyle that you are looking for. So thanks for taking the time to share with us today, man.
100%, Billy. Thank you for all that you do. I'm glad that you're doing the service to the people. They need it. We need it. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. And it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much. And to the Going Long audience, listen, as I mentioned, and we're getting started. This train is just leaving. We're building up momentum. And listen, we would love to continue to build the community. Really appreciate you being an active member of that. So why don't you go ahead and share the episode today with 2 or 3 other people. Lots of value that was provided today. And both Daray and I would love to hear your 5-star reviews of today's episode. So feel free to do that as well. I am really looking forward to welcoming you back on the next episode. And until then, go out and make it a great day.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? When I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.